Hey viewers, welcome to Info Oasis, the oasis of information. Today, I'm pretty sure that you will find this video very interesting because today we are going to be discussing about a very interesting topic. So this is the first video of the history series and it's going to be about some unknown and amazing facts about World War I. So before discussing about these unknown facts which might amaze some of you and which might sound awesome to some of you, before that let's understand the basic concept of World War I. Let's try to understand it briefly, like why the World War I took place and what happened, all that stuff. Let's discuss it as briefly as possible before getting on to the main topic of today. So basically, let's first discuss about the time span of World War I. It took place between 1914 and 1918, and to be more precise, it started on 28th July 1914 and it took place till 11 November 1918. So there were basically two groups of countries or two alliances that took place in this war, the Allied powers and the Central powers. So the Central powers comprised of Germany, Austria-Hungary Empire and the Ottoman Empire, or the current day Turkey, and also Bulgaria. So these four countries and many other small kingdoms were also part of the Central powers. And in the Allied powers, we had countries like Britain, France, the Russian Empire, and Italy. It came in between and fought for the last 3 years. And the United States of America fought for just 1 year. From 1917 to 1918, USA was involved in this, and Japan was also part of the alliance, the Allied powers. So these were the participants of the World War I. So let's discuss about the causes very quickly. The first cause was imperialism and nationalism. Actually, not nationalism, aggressive nationalism. So let's understand what is nationalism. Nationalism is a person's love towards his or her country. Basically, all of us have a lot of nationalism in us. But during that time, what happened was, when a person was brimming with nationalism and overflowing with nationalism, he started to become an aggressive nationalist, and he or she became infested with aggressive nationalism. That is, you love your country, but you hate all the other countries, or you hate most of the other countries. So this was a sort of problem during that time because one of the main reasons for aggressive nationalism was the Franco-Prussian War. So even before the World War I, a very fierce war took place between France and Germany. Germany at that time, it was known as Prussia. So the Franco-Prussian War took place and it ended in 1871. It ended in 1871, and what happened was Germany gave a crushing defeat to France. So France did not like it basically, and two provinces of France were annexed by Germany, Alsace and Lorraine. And basically the French did not like it and they started hating Germany, and they somehow wanted to retrieve their provinces back. So this also led to a sort of aggressive nationalism among the French people, and the French were just waiting for an opportunity to strike back, and they had a sort of vengeance, you could say. And imperialism. What is imperialism? Imperialism is basically a policy which a country follows, that is a superpower follows, and it basically annexes the smaller powers or the smaller countries, and it starts expanding its territorial extent. So countries like Britain, France, Germany, Japan, all these Russian Empire, all these countries, they were trying to expand their territory by capturing some smaller kingdoms and smaller countries. And this also sort of led to a stiff competition, and Britain and France basically did not like Germany acquiring colonies, or Germany annexing smaller kingdoms and countries. This was because like you could imagine yourself, right? If you're the class topper in your class and a new admission comes up, a new boy comes up, and he overthrows you and he becomes the topper in the next term. So how would you feel? You would feel annoyed and you would be a bit jealous, and you wouldn't basically like him. Not all, but most of us won't like that particular boy. So similarly, Britain and France did not like the fact that Germany was also trying to exert its dominance. So this wasn't liked by France and Britain. So imperialism also led to a sort of hatred between these countries. And the next reason is the armament race. This is the second reason. So basically, the initially the World War I started off in Europe. So the European countries knew that a war could break out soon, and they started stockpiling weapons and armaments. And by 1914, Germany overtook Britain and France in steel production. And in 1912, Germany built a huge warship known as Imperator. So all these moves of Germany were, not liked by Britain and France. So they also started, stockpiling weapons. They also started gathering weapons in the name of self-defense. So it was pretty evident that a war could soon break out. And Germany went to the extent of digging deep a canal known as the Kiel Canal, and so that more ships and submarines could enter the Kiel Canal. And basically, Germans were ready for a war, and they were pretty confident that they could come out of the shadow of Britain and France, and they could be the new superpower of the world. So the mad race for armaments and arms was the second reason. And the third reason for the World War I was division of Europe into two groups. So basically, Europe was divided into two groups, and these two groups signed, the countries in these two groups signed corresponding, contracts or corresponding, treaties, alliance treaties, which were not known to any other country. So they did it secretly. And the two alliances which were signed secretly were Triple Alliance and Triple Entente, or some pronounce it as Triple Entente, whatever it is, Triple Entente or the Triple Entente. So Triple Alliance was signed by three countries. Number one, Germany, Austria-Hungary Empire, Austria-Hungarian Empire, and number three, Italy. And the Triple Entente was signed by three countries: France, Britain, and the Russian Empire. So these, in both these alliances, the countries promised that if some other powers, external power, attacks one of the members, then the other two members have to back them up, and so on. So a lot of other countries also started joining this, and Italy, it signed the Triple Alliance on the part of Germany. It promised to support Germany, but it remained neutral till 1915, and then it started a war against Germany, and it supported the Allied powers. So basically, I think Italy sensed that Germany was on the losing side. So, and Italy also wanted some German provinces. So Italy took a sharp turn and it joined the other side. So this was basically another important fact about World War I. But this doesn't come in the facts, in the list of the facts that I'll be discussing later. So let's move on to the next cause. And this cause is the immediate cause, or the most vital cause, the Sarajevo Crisis. So basically, the Austro-Hungary Empire had a prince. His name was Archduke Francis Ferdinand. And right when his, there was just a few days remaining when his coronation was about to take place, then some Serbian group of extreme nationalists, they killed him. And this made Austria-Hungary very angry, and it issued a sort of document, and it made 11 demands from Serbia. Serbia refused to accept some of them. So Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia. Russia started to prepare for a war, and they said that we will support Serbia. And so Germany declared a war on Russia, and so on. All the other countries also started coming up. So these were the causes. And result, we obviously know, Germany bit the dust. They lost. And what happened was Germany was made to sign a very unfair treaty known as Treaty of Versailles in 1919. What happened was Germany was blamed for each and every mistake. All the mistakes were stockpiled on Germany, and it was stated that Germany was aggressive. Germany is the country which started the aggression. It was supposed to pay 33 to 40 billion amount of money to the victorious countries, and it had to surrender some of its provinces. It had to give up some of its coal mines to France. It was supposed to maintain only a limited amount of soldiers, and it wasn't allowed to operate big ships and flights. So everything was against Germany in the Treaty of Versailles. So this was basically a brief outline about the World War I. And let's now discuss about the main topic which we are going to discuss, some unknown facts about World War I. So I have made few researches, and I've taken down them in this particular piece of paper, and I'll read them out to you, and I'll try to explain them. The first one is, World War I gave birth to the concept of or to the idea of plastic surgery. During World War One, a lot of facial injuries were occurred by the soldiers. So basically, to revive them and rejuvenate them and to treat them, the idea of plastic surgery started off in World War One. So the second fact which we're going to be discussing is that World War One has got lots of other names. So I'll be discussing few of them, like War of Nations, the Great War, the War to End All Wars. So there are a lot of names of World War One which some of us aren't aware of. And the next one is Sidney Lewis was the youngest British soldier, and he was also arguably the youngest soldier in World War One. And do you know his age? He was just 12 years old, and interestingly, he lied about his age in order to fight for his nation. So a lot of young British soldiers wanted to, contribute towards their country, and this boy, he was just 12 years old and he wanted to contribute for his country in the war. So this is really, really amazing. I found this fact as a very amazing one. The next one was Mata Hari was a Dutch dancer, but she was accused of being a spy, and she was executed by the French in 1917, and everyone stated that she was a spy. This fact is also very interesting. A pigeon known as Cher Ami was given with a French award for assisting an operation of saving 194 American soldiers from German aggression, from German captivity. So this was an operation led. This was an operation to rescue some American soldiers, and basically this pigeon was also involved in this mission. It was like supposed to carry some secret codes and sort of stuff like that. So this pigeon was awarded, and by the time it received the award, the pigeon was badly wounded and there was bloodshed all over its body. So even animals gave a sort of contribution towards towards the place where they belong in this particular war. The next one was 4 empires collapsed and shattered after World War One. The Ottoman Empire, which is the current day Turkey, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, Russian Empire, and German Empire. The next one was Henry Mosley. He's a very, very important scientist, and he's a very, influential person in the field of chemistry, especially periodic table. So most of the ideas, he was the one who set up the platform for our modern periodic table, and he also made some important discoveries regarding X-rays and some of its properties and sort of stuff related to X-rays. And he was killed in the World War One in 1915. So actually he was a scientist and he was killed in World War One. So Henry Mosley was an English scientist. The next one was a British Indian army comprising of a lot of Indian soldiers. They basically defeated Turkish Empire. The Turkish Empire in one of the wars, in one of the events in World War One. An army of Turkey was defeated by Indian soldiers who were fighting for British India. The next fact is some explosions that took place in France were heard as far as London. You could imagine the type of explosions that occurred in France. The ruffled voices of those explosions could be heard as far as London in the United Kingdom. So the 10th fact is that Hitler worked as a soldier in World War One, and he was temporarily blinded on 15th October 1918 in a mustard gas attack. So it was after his experiences as a soldier that Hitler wanted to rise up, and he became the dictator of Germany, and he wanted Germany to bounce back. And similarly, I'll also be making a video on some important and amazing, awesome facts on World War II. So this was all what I had today. And yeah, one important fact I forgot to mention. USA initially wanted to remain neutral, but a US ship was sunk by the Central Powers, and a lot of American nationals were killed in that. So that incident caused an outrage in the United States of American camp, and they started sending soldiers to support the Allied powers. So this was how USA entered into the war. So that's all what I had today, and do make sure to watch my next video, which is going to be some very similar and amazing facts on World War II. So thank you for watching this video patiently. Hope you like it, and thank you, and I would like to sign off. Thanks a lot.